Hello, networkers, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Network Engineer, where I will answer one of your questions. And in this episode, I want to do another Q&A and answer some of the questions that you have asked and posted here on this page. And his first question actually came in by email from Lionel, and his question was, I have a question for the Ask the Network Engineer series. I landed my first position as a network engineer on a team of senior engineers. My current tactic is to be a sponge and learn as much and as fast as I can. But with everyone being so busy with projects and their daily tasks, how do I get the information without being annoying? My natural urge is to just do it all by myself, or should I put in the effort and be part of the team? But I don't want to come off as antisocial. So that's a really, really good question. So let me go ahead and talk about that. So it will depend on the environment that you work in and the type of people and how open they are for wanting to share information with you, though. That's really a big deal. Some environments are more open where, yes, let me share with you, come get involved. Others are more like, just do your job and that's it. I think what's really important is for you to understand your job responsibilities. You are hired into the environment as a network engineer. So what are your responsibilities? You should be able to do your job. Okay. That's the first thing that is definitely required. But I understand you want to be a sponge and learn from these senior people to advance your own skills. So what I would definitely say is you want to observe their behavior and how they are in terms of, are they a sharing type of person? You should be able to pick that up and pick up their body language if that's something that they do. There are certain people that are very quiet. They may not really, it's not their thing of being a mentor. So I think you can easily see that. So what you can do is, yes, go ahead and attempt to try to learn what you can from them. Getting involved in the projects, just being like a person on the outside looking in and kind of participating that way. Okay, taking notes and learning with what they're doing. You can also ask them basically, what things can you do on your own time to better yourself as a network engineer and learning more about the network environment that you're a part of, right? Like what books, labs, video series, websites, network diagrams, anything that you can basically go on your own time and to learn. And that's actually what I did. A lot of people in different organizations, yeah, they would actually come up to me and, they knew I was very open and sharing. So that's probably the one thing. But I gave them action items. I said, you have to put in the work. So you have to go ahead and read these books, go to these websites. You got to do all of that. And that's what you should definitely do. Basically, you want to also consider their time. Their time is valuable. So you don't want to be there every single day, every single second, just kind of always being there. You are going to annoy them, okay? Give them their space because they're also trying to do their learning, their free time, whatever it may be. You want to value their time. But if you are there, just ask particular questions that gives you action items so that it can better you as a network engineer. But if they're not a type of person that they want to share and give information with, you need to respect that, right? And basically do your own thing, which is kind of what you were thinking about anyway, or at least a little bit though. There's nothing wrong with that. You can still do certifications on your own. You can look at websites and videos. This channel is basically for that. I'm helping people that if you're not getting the help from other people in your company, ask me those questions. I want to give you that information and give you action items for what you need to do to become a very effective network engineer. And the next question comes from Rushami R. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Her question is, I'm starting my career in a global NOC and I want to go into security and cloud computing. Can you give me a plan on how to get into security and cloud computing, if I'm interpreting the question correctly? So I did a lot of particular episodes where I talk about getting into different areas like cloud computing. Actually, I think I just recently completed an episode about getting into cloud computing. So check out that video for more details. My notes here says it is episode 72. So check that out. They'll give you information for what you need to consider. I also recommend checking out other episodes where I talk about valuable network areas and security, things like that. So check out episodes 20, 23, 40, and 42. So do that and watch those episodes. And if you have other questions, post those and I will answer those questions. This question is from Ricky from Philly, and it's a long one, but in summary, or how I interpret it, he's asking, is there any certifications out there besides the usual stuff like the CCNA, CCNP, that sort of thing? Is there more certifications that are geared for real life, practical learning, that sort of thing like that? Which is a great question. The short answer is no, that there really isn't any certification that does that. Now, you could make a strong case for the CCIE or the CCDE or the Cisco Certified Architect certification. But from my experience of getting my CCIE and renewing it every 2 or 3 years, and even attempting the CCIE Security Lab, I even attempted the CCDE, it is not practical at all. And this is a person who comes from a background that I work for a government network, a financial environment, nonprofits, ISPs, .coms, everything. Everything that I have done for my certifications, CCNA, CCNP, and CCIE, I rarely saw any practical uses that those things aligned with actual things I did on the job. But the certifications are still very important. They're still valuable because you got to start somewhere. Certifications are focused on concepts, on fundamentals. Once you gain that, then you start doing labs, virtual labs, things like that, and then start to apply that in practical environments. And that's where you get that with your first kind of job, like working in a NOC or being a network technician or a junior network engineer. That's where you get that exposure of gaining that practical experience. Because with practical experience, it's not just with configuration, it's also with troubleshooting and how you troubleshoot. And those things you really can't teach with certifications because there are so many different branches of how you could troubleshoot that you really can't teach that in a certification program. So my recommendation, Ricky, is to focus on doing more labs, focus on getting the opportunities of getting network experience, working in the NOC, network technician, things like that. Because when you gain that experience, that is the best learning that you actually will obtain. And this question comes from Samuel Cadane, and he has a lot of questions in there. So I'm going to answer one of them, and then I'll answer another one probably in another Q&A episode. Okay? So one of the questions I'm going to pick on, which is pretty simple and very quick to answer, is what is your most efficient routing protocol? I'm assuming what you mean is which routing protocol do you think is more efficient that should be configured within an environment? So when you say routing protocol, I'm going to assume you mean internal routing protocol. A routing protocol that is configured within a LAN, WAN, data center, internet edge, that sort of thing. And when you're talking about that, we're really talking about two routing protocols, OSPF and EIGRP. Now there is ISIS. I know like for the CCIE, it constantly has questions about ISIS. I have done work in hundreds of different environments. I have never seen that routing protocol in action, but it is something that is used heavily in the UK and with some service provider networks. So they utilize that. But for internal routing protocols for customer networks, we're honestly talking about OSPF and EIGRP. So they're both good, efficient routing protocols, but it depends on the environment. So I typically will choose EIGRP if the environment is a Cisco-centric environment. That means everything's Cisco and everything will always be Cisco, okay? It will make sense to deploy that protocol because it's very easy to configure. It's nothing that really involves areas and things like that. So that's great. It's very simple to implement. However, I would still recommend OSPF because that can support a mix of different hardware, and networks today look very different than they did before. Networks today are not 100% Cisco anymore. Now, like for switches, yes, Cisco is still very strong in that area. But the idea of an edge router, that's fading away. The firewall is basically becoming that particular component that's connecting directly into the internet. The routers, we don't do that anymore on the edge. In some cases, you want to do that depending on the kind of traffic load, and for BGP and separation of that sort of thing, that makes sense. But that's more for larger environments. But networks are becoming a mix with different hardware, like Fortinet, Palo Alto Networks, Cisco, Riverbed. It's a wide range of things, and basically EIGRP is a Cisco protocol. So that's why I typically do configure OSPF just to provide more flexibility. That if a Juniper is connected to my network, I can easily extend my OSPF or my routing domain with that device. So typically a lot of people are doing that. And Cisco has been really pushing, honestly, they've been pushing using more industry standard protocols anyway. Basically, in terms of trunking, VLAN trunking, Cisco had their own protocol. They had basically ISL trunking. Cisco doesn't recommend that anymore. It is basically 802.1q trunking because it supports a lot more VLANs in the environment. Okay, so you can see that Cisco is pushing away from their own stuff, and they should though. Everyone needs to follow a standard. I'm tired of people doing their own different things, and that certain things can't cooperate and basically, work together. Standardize everything. So OSPF should definitely be considered for any implementation for internal routing. And this question comes from Phil Thompson, and he says, hello, I've been watching your videos recently and you inspire me. Thank you very much. He's currently working on his CCNP, and once he has that out of the way, he's going to get more into security. But as a network engineer, he works a lot with Fortinet. You're on the right path, by the way. I love the FortiGates. I would like to become a NSC4 qualified in Fortinet, and I noticed that you have a course on it. Can you please do a video detailing the course that you offer? There seemed to be a lack of learning material for Fortinet. Any books you recommend, etc. So yes, we have a video series. We actually have 2 video series on deploying FortiGate firewalls. One is based on firmware version FortiOS 5.2 and 5.3, and there's one based on 5.4 and 5.6. They're the same thing. There are different user interfaces. That's why they're different video series. But yeah, the structure of the video series is very straightforward. I basically show you how to deploy a FortiGate firewall in a very typical topology or deployment, and we set it up step by step for various topics that are relevant and are actually configured in environments today. So it's more focused on a practical setting. I don't go over every single little nook and cranny feature on a firewall because most environments don't use that. They don't ask for that. They don't require that. Okay. So I usually do topics that are relevant based on what is actually deployed and asked in environments. So you can get more information on all of that in preview videos at routhub.net, Fortinet. Here's the link. And again, you can get more information there. And we are done with this episode. So if you have any questions about being a network engineer or anything in the networking field, post those questions below in the comments, and your question will come up in the future episode on this channel. So thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. That means a lot. And support us and check out our training at routhub.net, where recently we released a brand new video series for Python programming for network engineers. It took a long time to do it. It's finally released. I'm very proud about it, where I teach you the basics of Python and we build out 3 different network applications. with configuration, implementation, and network monitoring. It's a lot of fun, a lot of cool stuff. So check that out for more information. And until next time, keep networking.